Can I start?
Yes, ma'am. You can start the session.
Okay, my screen is visible, students.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay. So, before starting today's topic, that is algae, we will continue in algae only. Let's have a quick revision. So, in of yesterday's class. So, what we have discussed yesterday? Number one, what is algae? Algae are a diverse group of photosynthetic organisms found in various aquatic and terrestrial environments. So these are photosynthetic, means they can perform their own food and they are primary producers. Okay. Next is we have discussed about the pigments that are found in algae. So there are different kind of pigments that are present in algae, and due to these pigments, algae can perform the process of photosynthesis. Then algae, the color of the algae, that is also dependent on these pigments which is present on algae, and it varies from group to group. Means in some group there is some other pigments, in some group there is some specific pigment. So pigmentation also varies in algae. So number one pigment which we have studied is the chlorophylls. So basically these chlorophylls are the main pigment which helps to perform the process of photosynthesis. So in algae, there we found three type of chlorophylls. So these are chlorophyll A. So chlorophyll A, this is the primary photosynthetic pigments, and it is found in all type of algae, whether it is chlorophyll, it is rhodophyll, or it is phaeophyll. So you will find chlorophyll A in all types of algae, and it is essential for photosynthesis as it absorbs light. It will absorb light in the blue, violet, and red regions of the electromagnetic spectrum. Next is chlorophyll B. This chlorophyll B, this you will find in green algae, that is chlorophyta. This is a specific chlorophyll B molecule, and it assists chlorophyll A in capturing light. It's a assisting pigment. Main pigment is chlorophyll A, and chlorophyll B will assist chlorophyll A. Next, the last one is chlorophyll C, that is found in some groups of algae such as brown algae, that is phaeophyce, and diatoms, that is basilorophyce. So chlorophyll C also works like the chlorophyll B. It assists the chlorophyll A pigment to capture light energy, particularly in the blue, green, and red regions. So number two pigments is the carotenoids. So basically there are two type of carotenoids. Number one is the beta carotene, that is found in algae. So it is present in many type of algae. So beta carotene is a carotenoid that acts as an accessory pigment, means helping pigment absorbing blue and blue green light and passing the energy to chlorophyll A. So this beta carotene will capture the light energy and it will transport it to the chlorophyll A. That is the main pigment. Next is the fucoxanthin. So this is a brownish pigment found in brown algae, phaeophyce, and diatoms. So fucoxanthin absorbs light primarily in the green regions of the spectrum, and due to this fucoxanthin, the phaeophyce is also known as brown algae because it imparts brown color to the algae. Next, we have studied the phycobilin proteins. So there are basically two types, phycocyanin and phycoerythrin. So both phycocyanin and phycoerythrin are present in cyanobacteria and also in the rhodophyta, that is the red algae. So due to this presence of this phycoerythrin, you know that the rhodophyta, red algae, the color of the algae is red in color. This phycoerythrin imparts the red color. And also apart from this, they helps to perform the photosynthesis even in shaded or darker areas where there is very less light available. And the number four pigment is the xanthophylls. So in xanthophylls in algae there is lutein. So it is a yellow pigment that is found in green algae and other groups. And lutein is also an accessory pigment, and it also helps chlorophyll A. It absorbs light in blue spectrum and it contributes to light harvesting and provides photoprotection. Next is zeaxanthin and phylloxanthin. So this is also xanthophylls. So this also help in photo damage. Means sometimes there is light energy which is very high as heat, and as a result might be the algal cell will be damaged. So this zeaxanthin and phylloxanthin protects the algal cells from this damage. So their functions are number one, photosynthesis. Number two, protection from photo damage. Next, And number 3 function is it adapt to different light environments. As I said in phycocyanin and phycoerythrin, that it also help in less where it helped in the area where there is less light available, like in the marine water, in deeper marine water where there is less light available. So basically this pigment help in there also. Apart from pigmentation, yesterday we have discussed the cell structure. So we have discussed cell wall, which is basically made up of cellulose. And in some algae, apart from cellulose, you will find alginic acid. Somewhere you will find agar, and somewhere like diatoms, they have very special cell wall composition. That is, it is silica based cell wall, which is known as frustules. So it is a very specific and particular characteristic of the diatoms, that is the basilorophyceae. So they have silica based cell walls called frustules. Next, we have also studied the plasma membrane, that it has membrane selectivity, and it is made up of lipid bilayer and proteins are embedded in it. Next is cytoplasm. All cell organelles are found in the cytoplasm, like mitochondria, vacuoles, you will find in the cytoplasm, and it has a gel-like matrix that supports and suspends the cell internal components. So next is chloroplast. So chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis, and the chlorophyll, you will find it in the chloroplast only. And in the chloroplast, you will also see sometimes pyrenoids that are specialized structure within the chloroplast. So basically, these are involved in the synthesis and storage of stars. Next is nucleus, which stores the DNA material, the main genetic material of an organism. And this is very well defined nucleus, and it has a nuclear membrane too. And there is variability in the nucleus. Some you can see multinucleate, means presence of multiple nuclei, and some you can find only single nucleus. Next is mitochondria. Mitochondria has its own DNA, and it is also the storehouse of energy, and it can produce the ATP. And typically it is rod-shaped and oval. Next is endoplasmic reticulum. So this endoplasmic reticulum synthesize lipid, synthesize protein, and transport of materials within the cell. So these are responsible for synthesis of lipid and proteins. And the Golgi apparatus, after the synthesis of protein and lipid take place, this Golgi apparatus will pack it and it will transport it where it is needed to different locations and destination. Next is flagella and cilia. So basically this flagella are motile substance. It's like filament kind of, and it is movable. So you can see it in Chlamydomonas also, where there are two movable flagella. So the flagella are typically whip-like structure composed of microtubules. So composition of flagella is microtubules arranged in 9+2 arrangement, similar to those in the eukaryotic cells. Next is the vacuoles. So vacuoles are basically, they help in storage, and they also help to regulate water balance, especially in freshwater and environments. So apart from this main cell organelles, there are also other cell organelles that are eye spot and the gas vesicles. So gas vesicles help the algae to float in water, and the eye spot, basically like some in motile algae, there is eye spot which is sensitive to the light and helps the cell navigate towards optimal light condition. So these are eye spot and gas vesicle are other organelles apart from the male cell organelles. So we have learned the sexual reproduction, that is of 3 types. Isogamous, where the gametes are morphologically similar. Next is oogamous, where one is larger and non-motile, that is the egg, and the male, that is the sperm, is smaller and motile. Means it can movable. Next is anisogamous, where the gametes are different in sizes. Means they are morphological, not similar, but are motile. This is very less common, but also you can find somewhere like cladophora and all. Next is asexual reproduction, where we have discussed binary fission, where a single cells divides into 2 identical daughter cells. Example is Chlamydomonas. Next is fragmentation. Here, a part of the algae will break off and grow into a new individual. Example is Cladophora. Then we have learned asexual spores, where zoospores are there, which are motile spores with flagella, and aplanospores are non-motile spores that do not have the flagella. Next is vegetative reproduction through bulbis and conidia. Then hormogonia is there. So hormongonia are short motile filaments that break off all the main colony and can establish new colonies. And sporangia are specialized structure that produce and release spores found in many brown algae, such as order Laminarians. So there is a Fritsch classification where Fritsch has divided the algae into 11 classes. So the criteria of division is the pigmentation, type of reserve food, flagella, then mode of reproduction and ecological roles. So these are the orders of the 11 classes which we have discussed. Okay. So today we'll discuss each class with their general characteristic and a bit reproduction and ecological role. So this is the base of the classification. So number one is the class Chlorophyceae, also known as green algae. So Chlorophyceae is also known as green algae. Sometimes directly question might come with the tag Chlorophyceae, or if they direct mention green algae, you have to refer it as Chlorophyceae. So the general characteristic is that pigments. So in Chlorophyceae, chlorophyll A and B is present. Apart from that, carotenoids, that is lutein and beta carotene, is also present. And the reserve food material is starch stored inside the chloroplast. So the reserve food is starch. So in different groups, you will find different reserve food materials and different pigmentation. And this is what is the basis of the classification. So here chlorophyll A, B and carotenoids like lutein and beta carotene you will find. And reserve food is starch, which is stored in the chloroplast. So flagella typically 2, sometimes 4 or more. Basically, generally, most of the green algae have 2 flagella, but sometimes you may also see 4 or more, and that are equal in the structure. That are smooth whiplash type flagella found in motile cells, zoospores, and gametes. Next is reproduction. So in Chlorophyceae, there is asexual reproduction occurs through binary fission, means a single cell will divide into 2 halves. Next is fragmentation. A part of the algae will break off and give it rise to a new plant. Fragmentation and spore formation, like zoospores, that is motile, or aplonospores, that is non-motile. And autoclony formation, means they can form a similar identical colony also. So this is asexual reproduction found in class Chlorophyceae. Next, if we come to sexual reproduction, so it varies from isogamous. You can also see isogamous, that is fusion of similar gametes. You can also see anisogamous, fusion of dissimilar gametes, to oogamous, means fusion of small motile male gamete with a large motile, non-motile female gamete. Means asexual reproduction, you can see all the 3 kind of isogamous also, anisogamous also, and oogamous also. So what is the ecological role of this class? So green algae are primarily producers in aquatic ecosystem, contributing significantly to oxygen, producing and serving at the base of the food web in freshwater and marine environments. So they are the primary producers. So they give food and also shelter to freshwater and marine environments. And they also contribute to oxygen production. Number 2 is they are also important in nutrient cycling. They help in cycling of nutrients and are found in various habitats, including freshwater, marine and terrestrial, soil and tree bark. So common example of this green algae is Chlamydomonas, Fallbox, Pyrogia, and Ulva, that is sea lettuce. So these are the common example of green algae, that is Chlorophyceae. What? Chlamydomonas, Fallbox, Pyrogia, and Ulva. So this is all about our class Chlorophyceae. Next is Xanthophyceae, that is yellow-green algae. So the general characteristic of Xanthophyceae is number 1, pigmentation. So here you will see chlorophyll A and chlorophyll C. In the earlier case, that is in Chlorophyceae, you have seen that chlorophyll A and B is present. But in Xanthophyceae, that is yellow-green algae, you will see there is chlorophyll A and chlorophyll C. And beta carotene and xanthophylls are also present. So example, diadinoxanthine, but lack fucoxanthine, differentiating them from brown algae. So this Xanthophyceae, they have xanthophylls, but it is not fucoxanthine. But in the brown algae, you will see that there is fucoxanthine. So this is the main key differentiating factor. Next is reserve food is here oil and leucocene, a polysaccharide. Leucocene is a polysaccharide. Earlier we have seen starch is the reserve food, but in Xanthophyceae you will see oil and leucocene. So flagella typically two, unequal in length, one whipless and one thin cell type present in motile cells, zoospores and gametes. So in there, the flagella are of equal length. But here you will see that the flagella are of unequal length. They are not equal in length. Okay, so this is about flagella. So reproduction you will see by formation of, in asexual, by formation of motile zoospores and non-motile aplanospores, fragmentation and cyst also. So cyst is also a kind of asexual reproduction where from cyst a new plant can arise. Okay. Yeah, there is one thing that in flagella I have mentioned that there are two unequal flagella. One is whipless and one is thin cell type. So what is whipless and what is thin cell type of flagella? You must know. So whipless flagella is, these are long whip-like structure that extend from the surface of some cells. Means from some cells there will be long, like thread-like structure will extend, like some protozoa and sperm cells. So they are used for movement, working in a whip-like motion, propelled to cell through its environment. So they will extend from some cell surfaces. And while thin cell flagella, these are characteristic by their branched hair-like extension. So thin cell will be branched, means they are severely branched, and the structure will be hair-like extension. You have seen our hair, right? So it will be like hair-like extension, and it is called thin cell flagella. So they will also come from like some cell like protozoa and all. And the movement of thin cell is typically more complex compared to the simple and whooping motion. So here in thin cell, the movement is complex, but in whipless flagella, the movement is very simple. So this is about the flagella, which I haven't written, but you must know the points. Next is reproduction. I have said that in by formation of motile zoospores and non-motile aplanospores and fragmentation and cyst. And in asexual is typically rare, but when present, it is isogamous or anisogamous. So in xanthophysi, basically you will see asexual mode of reproduction. Asexual is also there, but it is very rare, very rare. You will see like in minimum number of xanthophysi species. So if it is present also, it is of isogamous. Isogamous means with similar type of gametes, or anisogamous, not identical gametes, but you will not find oogamous kind of. So ecological role of the class Xanthophysi is mostly found in freshwater environments, play a role in primary production and nutrient cycling. So they also play the same role, primary production and nutrient cycling in the freshwater. They are involved in the breakdown of organic materials and contribute to biofilm formation in aquatic system. So they help in the breakdown of organic materials to simpler forms. So common examples are Faucheria, Tribonema, and Botrydium. So xanthophysi, yellow-green algae. Common examples are Faucheria, Tribonema, and Botrydium. These are the common examples. This is the number 2 class. So number 3 is Phaeophysi, that is the brown algae. Okay, Phaeophysi is also known as brown algae. So what are the general characteristics? Number 1, pigments. So chlorophyll A and C is present. Carotenoids is there, especially fucoxanthin. Here you will find fucoxanthin, which gives them a brown color. Due to the presence of this fucoxanthin, this Phaeophysi is also known as brown algae. It imparts the brown color. So So in brown algae, there is Phaeophysi, from which pigment the brown color has been imparted. So the answer is the fucoxanthin. So reserve food here is laminarin. This is a polysaccharide, and mannitol, a sugar alcohol. So reserve. So you must remember the pigment, reserve food, and what type of flagella is present there. Because questions are asked on the basis of pigments and the presence of reserve food material mainly. So here you will find laminarin, that is a polysaccharide, and a mannitol, a sugar alcohol. This is the reserve food material. Next is flagella. So present only in reproductive cells, zoospores and gametes, 2 lateral unequal flagella, 1 whipless and 1 thin cell. Same as the earlier class. Here also the 2 flagella are unequal. Okay. That is also unequal in length. But in chlorophysi, we have seen that the flagella is equal in length. So next is report. Oh yeah, I am telling reserve food. So do you know what is reserve food? So basically, reserve food is a term we use to the substance stored within an organism. So the substances which are stored in the organism, and that can be used later for energy or growth. Means this reserve food, suppose this is laminary. So this laminary in the polysaccharide is stored inside the cells of the phaeophyce, and later when needed, this is used by the plant for energy and growth. So this is the role of the reserve food. So in phaeophyce, this is the brown algae. So the reproduction is asexual by fragmentation and production of motile zoospores, and sexual also. Generally oogamous with complex life cycles involving alternation of generations, diploid sporophytic and haploid gametophytic. So as we are moving ahead, so now the structure of reproduction is also becoming complex. So here basically you will find oogamous kind of, but you will also see alternation of generations. Means we have already learned it. What is alternation of generation? There is diploid sporophytic phase also and haploid gametophytic space also. In the last part, we'll discuss about this. So ecological role of this brown algae is, brown algae are dominant in marine environments. So they are found in marine environments mainly, especially in colder water. In cold water, they form extensive underwater kelp forests that provide habitat and food for a variety of marine organisms. So they give shelter and food to the marine organisms. They play a crucial role in coastal ecosystem and are used commercially for alginators, thickening agents. As the cell wall of this, I have discussed in the first or second slide, that in the cell wall, there is also alginic acid present apart from cellulose. So these are also commercially used for thickening agents. So common example is fucus, that is also known as rockweed, and laminary, that is also known as kelp, and sargassum, that is also known as gulpweed. So fucus, laminary, and sargassum is the common example of this class. Next is class number 4, that is chrysophyceae, also known as golden brown algae. So chrysophyceae is known as golden brown algae. So pigments present is chlorophyll A and C. Carotenoids is fucoxanthin, giving them a golden brown color. Then reserve food is leucosin, a polysaccharide, and oil. So that here reserve food is leucosin and a polysaccharide and oil. So flagella, typically 2, unequal in length, means one is whipless and another is thin cell type, found in motile cells, zoospores, and gametes. So after the class end, what you will do today, you will make 11 boxes, and everywhere you will, for the 11 classes, you will differentiate, write the pigments, reserve food, and flagella, and you make a chart. This is your homework. You make the chart so that you can remember what is the pigment of present in chrysophyceae, what is the reserve food present in rhodophyceae. That's how you can remember. When you will make a chart by making columns and rows, we only remember like that only earlier. So you have to make that chart. This is your homework. Okay.
Ma'am,
So yes.
once again say na ma'am, what homework?
What?
Homework once again say ma'am.
Yes. Look, these are the very confusing thing, right? Like in chrysophyceae, reserve food is chlorophyll A and B. Again, in somewhere like chlorophyta, you will see reserve food chlorophyll A and B. So you will forget like this. So what you will do, your homework is that in a box, like you make a box where you will divide into 11 parts, like where you will write each class name from chlorophyta to phaeophyta to chrysophyta, like that you will write all the classes name, and then you separate, like in chlorophyta, this pigment, only write the pigment name. Chlorophyll A and B is present, then carotenoids this present, then come to reserve food, stars is present, flagella unequal. Like that you make a box of all the 11 classes, like all the 11 classes, which pigment is present, what reserve food is present, and what flagella is present. Like that you make a box so that you will remember. Like while you looked at the chart, you can remember directly. Okay, so that is your homework. Can you get it? My point, what I am telling?
Yeah, ma'am, I completed ma'am that work.
Okay, that's very good thing. You're smart. Okay, that's good. Now you can remember very easily. Others also follow this method. You can do like that only, so that you will remember the things. Okay, so let's move ahead. So what I am telling, okay, in chrysophyceae, reserve food is leucosin, a polysaccharide, and oil. So, and flagella, typically 2, unequal in length, 1 whipless, and 1 thin cell type, found in motile cells, zoospores, and gametes. Okay, and yes, in my next class, I will see the homework whether you have done or not. Like I will ask you to on the video for a few seconds and you will show me the chart only, or else you won't do the homework. Okay, so you complete this homework.
Okay,
That
ma'am.
is okay, yes. So yeah, so flagella here is two unequal in length. One is weakless and one is thin cell, and they are also found in motile cells, juice pores and gametes. So reproduction is by binary fission, where one cell divides into two halves, or formation of cyst. And sexual reproduction is very less common here. In chrysophyceae, you will find sexual reproduction very less common, but can be if found, then it might be isogamous or anisogamous kind of. Means you will not find eugamous kind of. So isogamous means similar and anisogamous means dissimilar. Okay, so this is what. So ecological role of these classes found in both freshwater and marine environments contribute to primary production and nutrient cycling. They are important components of phytoplankton communities, particularly in nutrient poor waters, where there is very less nutrient in the water. So this class help there to have the nutrients. So they are basically found in freshwater and marine. And apart from this, I have here mentioned that binary fission or formation of cyst. So basically what this cyst is. So this is a dormant, usually a stays found in some organisms or plants. It is also found in bacteria or protozoa. So these are like form of asexual reproduction, and it can survive in harsh condition also. Suppose there is adverse condition, adverse stays, so it can withstand that harsh condition. And when there will be favorable condition, it can germinate and grow into a new plant. So that is the cyst. So common example of this chrysophyceae is Dinobrion, then Cynora and Acromonas. So these are the common example. So this is number 4, chrysophyceae. Number 5, very important, basilorophyceae, that is the diatoms. So here pigments is chlorophyll A and C, carotenoids mainly fucoxanthin. Then reserve food is chrysolaminarin. This is a polysaccharide, and oil. So reserve food is chrysolaminarin, a polysaccharide, and oil. And flagella generally absent in vegetative cells, present only in the male gamete of certain species, single weakless type. So generally here you will see absence of flagella, but if sometimes it is present in the male gametes, and if present, it is single and weakless type. So basically these diatoms have a very special, unique characteristic, that is the cell wall is made up of silica-like structure. That is the frustules. The cell wall is like silica-like structures, that is the frustules. So this is the very unique characteristic of these diatoms. So reproduction here is predominantly by binary fission, leading to gradual size reduction. Like size will reduce after the formation of gametes. Next is sexual, that is oogamous or isogamous. Sexual reproduction restores the original cell size. If the sexual reproduction happens, then it will again maintain the earlier like parental cell size. Because in asexual reproduction, you will see that there will be decrease in the cell size. But when there will be sexual reproduction, then it will again maintain the original cell size. And sexual reproduction is of oogamous and isogamous type. So ecological role is major primarily producers in marine and freshwater ecosystem. Their silica gel walls, that is frustules, contribute to the formation of diatomaceous art. Diatoms are critical in the carbon and silica cycle and serve as indicators of environmental changes. So this is a very distinguishable ecological roles due to the presence of the silica cell walls, that is the frustules. It contributed to the formation of a special kind of structure, that is the diatomaceous art. So this helps in the critical carbon and silica cycle. It helps in the cycling of the carbon and silica, and it also helps as indicator of environmental changes. Suppose in some area there is very much pollution, so it can indicate, oh, their pollution is rising day by day. So this is also a good bioindicator. So common example is Navicula, Pinularia, and Cocinodiscus. This is all about Basilorophyceae, that is the diatoms, class 5. Next, class 6 is the Cryptophyceae, or you can say as cryptomonads. Cryptophyceae or cryptomonads. So general characteristic, pigment is chlorophyll A and C. Phycobiliproteins, phycoerythrin and phycocyanin are present. Carotenoids are also present. So reserve food is stars, stores outside the chloroplast. So here is a key difference. In the class 1, that is the chlorophyce, we have seen that there is also reserve food that is present as stars. But that stars is stored inside the chloroplast. But here in cryptophyce, you will see that the reserve food is stars, but this is stored outside the chloroplast. So this is a very key difference. Okay. Next is flagella. So two unequal flagella is present, both with a unique tubular mastigotema structure. So there is a special structure that is known as mastigoneme. So this is also two unequal flagella is present. Next, reproduction, sexual, mainly by longitudinal binary fission. So here also binary fission will take place. Means there will be two daughter cells will form, and sexual is very rare, and it is also not well documented yet. Means sexual reproduction is not yet very much studied or well documented in the research study. It is rare. They are not saying that there is no sexual reproduction, but it is rare and not well documented. So ecological role is found in both freshwater and marine environments, important in the microbial loop and as a food for zooplankton. They play a role in transfer of organic matter in aquatic system. So these are also found in freshwater and marine environments. So they can be found in freshwater and marine environments, and they are important in microbial loop, also important for the microbes. And they serve food for the zooplankton. So what are these zooplankton? So they are diverse group of small, often microscopic animals that drift in water columns. So these are found in the water columns, primarily in ocean, seas, and freshwater bodies. So they are small microscopic animals. Okay, so this cryptophyce, that is cryptomonads, also give food to this zooplankton. So they can also form habitat also. They play a role in the transfer of organic matter in aquatic system. They transfer organic matter in aquatic system. So the common example are Cryptomonas, Chromonas, and Rhodomonas. Cryptomonas, Chromonas, and Rhodomonas. Next is euglen. This is class 6. So class 7 is euglenophyce, that will also known as euglenoids. Euglenoids or euglenophyce. So the general characteristic is chlorophyll A and B is present. Carotenoids, that is beta carotene, is present. So reserve food is paramylon, a unique beta-1,3 glucan polysaccharide. So this paramylon is a beta-1,3 glucan polysaccharide. Sometimes questions also ask in this manner that what is the composition of the reserve food material of the euglenophyce. So that is beta-1,3 glucan polysaccharide. Paramylon is composed of this composition only. Next is flagella. Typically 1 or 2. You may find 1 also, 2 also. One usually functional Whiplash type, and the other reduced or non-emergent associated with an eye spot stigma or photoexis. So here in the flagella, you might find eye spot also. Basically, this eye spot we have already learned is light sensitive. They are very sensitive to the light. So reproduction is mainly longitudinal binary fission, and as sexual is not well documented, likely absent in most species. So in most species, this sexual reproduction is absent, but if it is present also, it is not very much well documented. So ecological roles mostly found in freshwater environments, especially in nutrient-rich or polluted waters. Some species are mixotropic, combined photosynthesis and ingression of organic matter. So they can produce their own food, photosynthesis also, or they can also ingest of organic matter, when dependent on organic matter. They contribute to nutrient cycling and serve as indicator of water quality. So if there is rise in pollution in water, or there is a decrease of pollution in water, they can indicate it with the help of this class. So example is Euglena, Ficus, and Trachelomonas. This is all about Euglenophyce. Number 8 is Rhodophyce, that is red algae. So in Rhodophyce, the pigments are chlorophyll A, phycobilins, that is phycoerythrin, and phycocyanin. So here we will write R phycoerythrin, R phycocyanin, and also carotenoids. Reserve food is Floridian stars, a branched glucose polymer stored in the cytoplasm. So this is also a form of stars known as Floridian stars. So this is a branched glucose polymer stored in the cytoplasm. This is stored in the cytoplasm. So flagella, there is none. Red algae lack flagellated stages entirely. So in rhodophyceae, you will not find the flagella. This is totally absent. Reproduction is by monospores and fragmentations, like one kind of spores only, and also with the help of the fragmentation method. Sexually, typically complex with alternation of generations. Sexual reproduction is oogamous, involving non-motile gametes. So in sexual reproduction, you will find non-motile gametes, and this is a complex reproduction where alternation of generations means both sporophytic and gametophytic stage is present. So ecological role is predominantly marine, especially in tropical and subtropical regions. Important in reef building, coralline algae, and as a source of agar and carrageenan for industrial use. As this rhodophyceae in their cell wall, apart from the cellulose, it also contained agar and carrageenan. We have already studied in slide 2. So it is also commercially benefited. They contribute to primary production and provide habitat and structure to marine ecosystem. They give habitat and give food to the marine ecosystem. So example is Polysiphonia, then Porphyra, Nori, and Gracilaria. These are the common example of the class Rhodophyceae, that is the red algae. Number 9 is the Cyanophyceae, we also known as blue-green algae or the cyanobacteria. Basically, this is a very controversial because it also can have the characteristic of the bacteria. So pigments is chlorophyll A, then phycobilin, phycocyanin, and phycoerythrin is there. C-phycocyanin and C-phycoerythrin. Then carotenoids, that is beta-carotene is present. Reserve food is cyanophycean stars. In the earlier rhodophyceae, we have seen Floridian stars, but in cyanophyceae, there is cyanophycean stars, a glucose-like polysaccharide. This is a glucose-like polysaccharide. Then flagella, none. Cyanobacteria do not have true flagella, but can move via gliding or gas vesicle for buoyancy control. Basically, this class has no flagella, like the earlier one, like the rhodophyceae, but not true flagella, but still there is no flagella, but still they can move, like gliding, or they have gas vesicles. So basically, these gas vesicles help to float in the water, and through that float, through that buoyancy, they can move from one part to another. And reproduction is by binary fission in asexual type, then fragmentation on formation of echinates, resting spores, and hormogonia, motile filaments. So we have discussed this in asexual parts. So echinate is also a type of resting spores. Means they can germinate when the favorable condition takes place. Basically, they can also tolerate the stress level. Then sexual reproduction is true sexual reproduction is absent. I mean, you will not find true sexual reproduction. I mean, it is like more about asexual kind of. An ecological role found in diverse environments from freshwater to marine and terrestrial. You will find in fresh, marine, and terrestrial. Significant in nitrogen fixation. So this cyanobacteria has a very important role in nitrogen fixation. So we will learn that when we will study the physiology, particularly in nutrient-poor environments. They are crucial in primary production, especially in extreme environments, and contribute to the formation of blooms, one of which can be toxic. So they can also form bloom. This is a structure, and it is toxic in nature. So they can also thrive in extreme conditions, and they help in nitrogen fixation. So common example is Anabena, nostoc, and microcystis. So in later, we'll discuss in chapter, I think this is in 11 or 12, I forgot, but you will have to learn the nostoc Anabena relationship, like how nostoc and Anabena help in soil to improve the soil quality and in nitrogen fixation. So these are their roles. So class 10 is Dinophyceae, that is dinoflagellates. Dinophyceae, that is dinoflagellates. So pigments present is chlorophyll A and C. Carotenoids is peridinin and dinoxanthin. These are the pigments present, chlorophyll A and C. Carotenoids is peridinin present and dinoxanthin. Reserve food is stars and oil droplets. Along with stars, you will also see oil droplets. Flagella, 2 flagella, 1 transverse, encircling the cell, that the cell is encircled with the number 1 flagella, and 1 longitudinal, providing a unit spinning motion. The number 2 flagella will give the unique spinning. It can spin like a ball spins. So this also Dinophyce can also spin due to this second type of longitudinal flagella. So reproduction mainly by binary fission. So asexual mainly by binary fission, where one cell divides into two daughter cells. So sexual can occur under specific conditions, forming a resting cyst, that is hypnozygote. So here you will see the formation of the cyst. So ecological role, important components of marine and freshwater phytoplankton. Some species are bioluminescence or produce toxins. Some Dinophyce species can also produce toxins, leading to harmful algal blooms, red tides. Other form symbiotic relationship such as zooxanthellae in coral reefs, continuing into coral nutrition and reef building. And other can form symbiotic relationship. Some are harmful for the algae because it produces some bloom toxin kind of substance. But apart from that, it can also form symbiotic relationship. So common examples are Keratinum, Gymnodium, and Noctiluca. These are a common example of the class Dinophyceae. And the last class is the Charophyceae, that is also known as stone words. Charophyceae, that is also known as stone words. So general composition means pigmentation is chlorophyll A and B. Carotenoids is present similar to green algae, that is leucan, and beta carotene is present. Reserve food is starch similar to green algae stored inside the plastids. So here also you will find reserve food starch. And flagella present only in the male gamete, two apically inserted Whippley's type. So that is apically inserted and it is present only in the male gamete, not on the female gamete. Okay. So this then asexual reproduction is done generally by fragmentation. Fragmentation means some part of the plant will be break and it will give into a new plant. So that is what the fragmentation. Next is the sexual reproduction. So it's sexual reproduction involving the production of large non-motile eggs and small motile sperm. That is oogamous. That is the oogamous type. The reproductive organs are multicellular, with the female organ called the oogonium and the male organ called the antheridium. Fertilization leads to the formation of a zygote that undergo meiosis to produce new cells. So, okay, this oogamous type means there is non-motile large egg and motile small sperms, and that will lead to fertilization. Then zygote twice and will produce. Okay. So basically, this for one thing that the flagella, there I have mentioned that they present only in the male gametes and two apically inserted. So two apically insert means like they are attached to the apex, apex or the tip, in the tip or in the apex of the plant. Like means all of the male gamete. Or the end part means end part of the male gamete, this flagella will be there. So this is this is Charophyceae. Then ecological role is found mostly in freshwater environments, especially in still or slow-moving waters like ponds, lakes, and streams. Charophyceae plays a role in stabilizing sediments and providing habitats for aquatic organisms. They give habitats to the aquatic organisms. They are often indicators of clean water as they thrive in unpolluted environments. So basically, if you see that this class is Charophyceae is present, you may think that the water is clean, as they inhabit in the clean water like ponds, lakes, and streams. So common example is Cara and Nitella. These are the common example of this class. Next is alternation of generations. So we have done about the 11 classes. Now we will learn about the algal alternation of generation. So what is alternation of generation? We have already learned, but it is a life cycle that alternates between a multicellular haploid phase, that is the gametophyte, and a multicellular diploid phase, that is the sporophyte. So this cycle is common in plants and some groups of algae. There are three main type of alternation of generations based on dominance and morphology of these plants. So basically, alternation of generations means when a plant exhibit haploid phase, means the production of gametes, that is the gametophytic stage, and a diploid phase, that is the sporophytic stage, where a plant is grown. So there are basically three types of alternation of generations is found based on the dominance. So number one is haplodiploidic or diplohaplontic life cycle, alternation of generations. Haplodiploidic, or also we can say diplohaplontic. So what is this? In this type, both the haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophyte phases are multicellular. This generation can be either isomorphic or heteromorphic. So here both the haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophytic stage is equally present and it is multicellular. So basically, this can be either isomorphic or heteromorphic. So what is isomorphic alternation of generations? The haploid gametophytic and diploid sporophyte are morphologically similar or identical. Means both the haploid gametophytic stage and the diploid sporophytic stage are morphological, means outer appearance of the cells will be the similar or identical. So examples are some species of green algae like alva, that is also known as sea lettuce, exhibit this type of face. Both faces look alike but differ genetically. So if you see the genetical composition, it will be different, but morphologically, that means the outer appearance will be similar in isomorphic alternation of generations. Next is heteromorphic alternation of generations. The haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophyte are morphologically different. Means both the haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophyte will be different. In isomorphic, similar. In heteromorphic, different. So, example, in brown algae like Laminaria kelps, the sporophytic is a large dominant structure, while the gametophyte is microsporic. The sporophytic will be large, mean the plant will be large, but the gametophyte is microscopic and less conspicuous. In red algae like Polysiphonia, the gametophytic and sporophytic looks different, with the sporophyte is often being smaller or less conspicuous. So here in some part you will see gametophytic is less conspicuous, and in some you will see that sporophytic is less conspicuous. So this is heteromorphic, which is different. Next is haplontic life cycle. Now this is haplodiploidic or diplohaplontic. Number two is haplontic life cycle. So in this type, the haploid phase is multicellular and the diploid phase is single cell, the zygote. The dominant stage of life cycle is the haploid gametophyte. Means this gametophytic stage will be dominant, means this has more time. The zygote is the only diploid stage and does not divide mitotically but undergoes meiosis immediately to produce haploid spores. Means the zygote will not further undergo the mitosis, means formation of more cells. But after the formation of zygote, it will undergo meiosis and it will produce again the haploid spores. Means diploid stage is for few time only, but the haploid stage is larger. So example is many green algae, that is Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, and some fungi exhibit a haplontic life cycle. Next is diplontic life cycle. So here in diplontic life cycle, what happened? Diplontic phase is multicellular and haplontic phase is single cell. It is totally opposite to the haplontic life cycle. Here the dominant stage will be the diplontic phase, means the sporophytic stage. And the haploid stages are produced from meiosis and do not undergo mitosis. They fuse to form a diploid zygote. Again, there will be no mitosis, and again they will fuse to form the diploid zygote. So it is totally opposite to the haplontic life cycle. So example are like diatoms, basilorophyceae exhibit a diplontic life cycle. In plants, this type is seen in seed plants, where the sporophytic is the large dominant phase and gametophytic is reduced to few cells only. Example is basilorophyceae class. So this is the summary, like isomorphic, diplontic, both gametes and sporophyte are morphologically similar. Then heteromorphic, both gametophyte and sporophytic are different. Then haplontic is like single cell, where the dominant phase is haploid gametophyte, and in diplontic, the dominant phase is the diploid sporophytic. So each type of alternation of generation has evolved as an adaptation to specific environment condition and reproduction strategies, allowing different groups of organisms, including algae, plant, and some protists, to survive and reproduce in diverse ecological niches. So basically, this alternation of generation is to adapt them in different environments and to survive them in different environments. So these are the reasons. So what is the alternation generations in algae? So alternation of generation in algae involves a life cycle that alters between a haploid gametophyte generation and diploid sporophytic generation. In context of F50's 11 class system of algae classification, each class exhibits different patterns of life cycle and alternation of generations. So in Fitch classification also, each class have different alternation of generation. So we'll study that. So in chlorophyceae, that is the green algae, alternation of generation is many green algae exhibits haplodiplontic life cycle, which involves an alternation between a multicellular haploid gametophyte and a multicellular diploid gametophyte. So chlorophyceae, green algae is haplodiplontic life cycle, means both the phases are equally dominant. So type of life cycle is isomorphic, like in some species like alva, both the haploid and diploid are morphological similar, and you will also find heteromorphic, that is like in Cladophora, the gametophyte and sporophyte are different. So you will find both the types. So example is Ulva, Chlamydomonas, and Spirogia. So here haplodiplontic is present in chlorophyceae. In xanthophyceae, that is yellow-green algae, you will find haplontic life cycle. That is the haploid gametophytic stasis dominant. So example is Faucheria. So type of life cycles, in some species, the diploid phase is reduced to a single cell zygote, which undergo meiosis to produce diploid cells that grow into new gametophyte. There is no multicellular diploid. So this is basically haplontic life cycle in xanthophyceae. Example, Faucheria. Next is in Phaeophyceae, you will, like brown algae, you will find diplohaplontic life cycle exhibiting heteromorphic. So here you will see mostly the heteromorphic, means both the gametophytic and the sporophytic stages are different. Morphologically, they are different. Okay. And in some you will find, but this is rare. Isomorphic, that is similar stages, very rare. You will see the heteromorphic more. So example is Laminaria fucus. Although fucus is an exception with no alternation of generation as it is in diplontic. But fucus also has some exception, some species which doesn't show alternation of generations. So this is Phaeophyceae. Next is Chrysophyceae, that is golden brown algae. So it exhibits haplontic life cycle and haploid stages here dominant. So example is Dinobryon and Ochromonas. So here you will see haplontic life cycle, that is gametophytic stasis dominant. Next is Basilorophyceae, that is a diatoms. So here you will see diplontic life cycle, means the sporophytic stasis dominant. If haplontic is there, that is the gametophytic stasis dominant. If diplontic is there, that is the sporophytic stasis dominant. So it is diplontic, means sporophytic stasis dominant. So example is Navicula and Koskino discuss. So this is Basilorophyceae, where diplontic phase is dominant. So number 6 is Cryptophyceae, where Cryptophyceae have a poorly understood life cycle, but generally considered as haplontic. So basically, this is not very well documented. Researches are going on, but still, this is now considered as haplontic. Okay. So there is no diploid multicellular stage. So example is Cryptomonas. Number 7 is Dinophyceae, that is dinoflagellates. So they generally have haplontic life cycle. So, but although some show variation, mostly have haplontic, but some species might show variation also. So, example is here Noctiluca and Keratium. Okay, these are the example in the Dinophyceae. This is Euglenophyceae, that is euglenoids. So alternation of generations typically exhibit haplontic life cycle, means gametophytic stages here dominant. Example is Euglena and Ficus. Next is Rhodophyceae. So it exhibits, this is a very uncommon, this exhibit a triphasic three-phase life cycle, which includes 2 diploid stages and 1 haploid phase. So this is the most uncommon alternation of generation in Rhodophyceae, that is triphasic, means there are 3 phases here. 2 diploid stages, means 2 sporophytic stages, and 1 haploid stage, 1 gametophytic stage. Remember which class of algae shows triphasic life cycle? Answer is the Rhodophyceae. So type of life cycle, triphasic alternation involves a haploid gametophyte, a diploid carposporophyte, and a diploid tetrasporophyte. So first there will be haploid gametophyte, then it will lead to diploid carposporophyte, then again it will lead to diploid tetrasporophyte. The carposporophyte parasitic on the female gametophyte produces diploid carpospores, which develop into tetrasporophyte. So basically, after the gamete formation, there will be the formation of the carpospores, which are diploid in nature, and this carpospore again will develop tetrasporophyte. The tetrasporophyte then undergo meiosis to produce haploid tetraspores, which grow into new gametes. So there are 3 stages, that is triphasic. So example is Polycyphenia or Porphyra, that is nori. So this is a uncommon. Number 10 is Cyanophyceae, blue-green algae. So they do not have any alternation of generations. So here you will not found any alternation of generation. So they will reproduce through binary fission, fragmentation, or spore formation. Example, Anabena nostoc. Number 11 is Charophyceae, stoneworts. So alternation of generation typically is haplontic life cycle with a dominant gametophytic stage. Gametophytic stage will be the dominant. Example, Cara and Nitella. So this is all about the alternation of generations. So the conclusion is the alternation of generations in algae is classified by F.P. Fritz, varies widely among the different classes. Means somewhere you will find haplodiplontic, somewhere haplontic, somewhere diplontic, and like cyanobacteria, there is no alternation of generations, reflecting their evolutionary adaptations and ecological roles. Some algae have complex life cycle with both haploid and diploid multicellular stages, while other have simple cycles dominated by either haploid or diploid. Like some example, like Chlorophyceae, you will find both haploid and diploid, haplodiplontic, but where some like Rhodophyceae, you will only see like only one dominant stage, either haploid or diploid forms. These diverse reproductive strategies have allowed algae to thrive in a wide range of habitats from freshwater to marine environments. Due to this alternation of generation, they can survive in harsh conditions. So this is all about the topic algae. So this is all about the topic algae. Okay, this is all about the topic algae. So from the next class, we will start bryophytes. So algae is finished. Hope you will do the homework also. And when I don't know when I will get the next class, you have to show me the chart. For few seconds, I will ask you to on your camera, and you have to show me the chart what you have made. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Now what is this value? So it is x raised 5, y raised 6.
Again, we have class tomorrow morning. That is from 5 to 7. Right? Meet you all tomorrow morning from 5 to 7. Bye, everyone.